United are having a midfield overhaul this summer. We all know that is the plan. But when it comes to what that plan is, to me there seems to be a conversation that no United fans are probably having just yet. Let me tell you exactly what I mean by that, and why this summer is definitely going to be more difficult to pull off than I think most United fans realise. I think this is going to be an interesting conversation, this video. We're going to be talking about the midfield overhaul, which is going to be the big focus for United this summer. Now, this isn't about which player I think is best or X, Y, Z. I want to run through the strategy that I think is going on behind the scenes and the three different types of midfielders I think United need to be signing. Yes, three. I think that's how many United need. And I'll justify my logic. You can let me know what you think in the comments as always. But before I speak about those three midfielders, I want to take a look at our current squad. Because I think just as a visual experiment here, not really experiment, right? We know full well that Casemiro's leaving the club in the summer. So Casemiro's off the list. I think United will try and sell Ugarte. I think United will try and move on Toby Collier, and I don't particularly think that Dan Gore has got a future at the club anymore. Mason Mount, I think I'm going to put a question mark next to him. I think if the club could probably get what they wanted, they probably would sell him. Which leaves us with effectively Kobbie Mainoo is the only central midfielder I think that the club will want to bank on being in the squad next season. Bruno Fernandes, of course, I hope will go nowhere, but he's not exactly a central midfielder. But that's it, ladies and gents. We've gone from one game a season, where we've got the midfield of the size that we've got now, to hopefully 3 games a week. Not one game a season. 1 game per week this season. 3 games per week next season. And it looks like if it happens, and Ugarte's moved on, and Collier, and Gore, Kobbie's going to be the only central midfielder in this squad. You can't tell me that 2 midfielders is going to be enough. You could look internally. You could speak to me about Sekou Kone. You could speak to me about Jack or Tyler Fletcher. But you're talking about prospects there. Not players that I think United can conceivably rely on as part of this rebuild. They might be the sort of prospect that comes in as a fringe player that breaks through next season. But I think if any of them really do establish themselves, they're going to establish themselves next season. And of course, all the conversation is revolving around these two right now. But I want to speak about the 3 different types of midfielders that I think United are going to be looking at in terms of the levels. Number 1 is going to be the elite all-rounder. And that's where we speak about Elliot Anderson. That's where we speak about Sandro Tonali or Bruno Guimaraes. We know United's priority signing is Elliot Anderson. We also know that City want him. And I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool came in for him. Do I have complete confidence that United will get him? No. I have complete confidence that we'll be in for him. Whether we land him or not, I don't quite know. And the same goes for any move for either of these two from Newcastle. Because that is that elite, all-round midfield, Premier League proven level. That's your 100 million plus signing. That's one of them. That's what I mean about the different levels of signings, because I think the second one, the ball winner, the second type of midfielder I think United are going to be going after this summer, that we need to for this squad, you're looking towards the Carlos Baleba level. Now, Brighton wanted him to fall into that 100 million category last summer. He didn't. He certainly doesn't after this season. Now, this isn't about getting into the comments and having an argument about which is the best midfielder for each one of these 3 roles. I'm just sort of explaining how I think the strategy goes for the summer in terms of what midfielders we look at and how many. I think United will probably go back in for Carlos Baleba, but I think we'll go in with a lower offer than we went in last summer, and that didn't get Brighton to bite. Have things changed? Maybe. But they're my first 2 types of midfielders I think we sign. Number 1 is that marquee midfield signing. And I'd probably say the second one, ball winner. They'll want both of these to be Premier League proven. It's this one where I think it gets interesting. And I've just called this the gamble. Because I don't particularly think it's as specific as the other 2. I think you need an all-rounder and you need a ball winner. But this third one, the gamble, I'm not talking about Christian Orozco, by the way. The 17-year-old lad that we've signed, Colombia's under-17s captain. He's going to be joining the club, turning 18 and joining in the summer. And we'll see him in the preseason. He falls into that same sort of prospect category as you could do with Sekou Kone or Tyler or Jack Fletcher. Nobody has any idea. He's effectively this summer transfer window's Diego Leon, who of course has spent a year developing with the under-21s. We don't know the pathway of this yet, so you can't measure it. And there's just a list of midfielders that you could put into this category. I'm just going to reel a few off. right? Keith Schmidt was the young midfielder from AZ Alkmaar that we were linked with, more of a sort of, I suppose, a deeper playmaker, and that's exactly where Angelo Stiller would fall into it. But we're talking about a midfielder who would be signing from the Eredivisie, or a midfielder that would be signing from the Bundesliga, or Lucien Agume from Sevilla. Like, there's a whole host of midfielders you can put into this category, and this category for me is a price point between 20 and 40-ish million. A gamble that might pay off. A gamble that might be Senny Le Mans. Oh my God, we signed that player for 20 million, and now look, he's worth 50 by the end of it. But not the established, elite all-rounder, the one you pay the premium for. Or I think the more established ball winner, whether that's Carlos Baleba or not, it's a gamble. And I'm not sure what exact position that would be in. But I think all three of those combined is going to be United's approach, and should be United's approach to this summer midfield overhaul. Now, when it came to last summer, we took the 3-player approach. We went for 2 inside forwards and Šeško. If we signed Liam Delap, we wouldn't have signed Benjamin Šeško. So that was a bit of a pivot point. It was a shift in strategy. That wasn't the original strategy. I thought United needed a midfielder last summer, and I still stand by the fact that we did. But given that I think when you look at this squad, and you look at who United have got, and you look at who United I think are going to get rid of, I genuinely think that you'd be foolish to think that we need anything less than 3 midfielders. Bruno's a number 10. And top-level squads, you want 2 players competing for every position. You've got 2 central midfielders. You've got Kobbie's the only one. You can do the maths. That means you need to make 3 signings. And it's going to be tough. And I think it's at those 3 different levels. One, the elite all-rounder who's going to be your marquee 100 mil plus. One that's going to be somewhere in the region of 60 to 70 mil. And then maybe one that's going to be in the region of around 30 mil. 200 mil all in. And I think that would be United's midfield overhaul plans for this summer. I think we need 3, man. The more I think about it, the more I think we need 3 midfielders. Even if you get Elliot Anderson on his own, it's not enough. I don't think there's any chance that United get Elliot Anderson and Sandro Tonali. I think very much if we're lucky enough to get either of them, it would be one or the other. And I think Tonali, not that Tonali's a backup, but Tonali's an alternative to Elliot Anderson. I just want to know what you think about the strategy. How many midfield signings do you think United will make? And what sort of budget do you think the club will be trying to put aside for those 3? Bearing in mind we're going to be saving on the wages of Casemiro. We're going to be hopefully moving Ugarte on. Same with Toby Collier, Dan Gore, and of course the rest, Rashford and Højlund, and all the money we're going to be getting in there. How many midfielders do you see us signing? And how many do you think we need to be competitive? And I suppose whether or not we're in the Champions League might change this video. But this video is made on the premise that we get into the Champions League. And if we get there, this is how I think we need to approach the market.